If someone dies in a car accident and is really stuck in the car, does the tow truck take the car with the body still in it? I worked at a police garage years ago. A car came in from a bad crash and the driver was in the hospital. When he came to, he mentioned his mother was in the car with him. Turns out his elderly mother was in the car under the airbags, dead for a couple of days in the lot. I never heard if she died in the accident or afterwards. Nobody is stuck for firefighters, ever. I was a medic for 27 years. Many years ago we responded to a single vehicle accident. A guy drove his vehicle at high speed into an overpass support pillar. Totally crushed his car. We pronounced "Hi, I'm dead" pretty quickly, but he was completely pinned in on initial inspection. The police on scene asked FD to extract the body because the medical examiner did not have the necessary equipment to do it. FD started pulling out the jaws of life, cutting tools, Halligan tools, Spotlight. It was after 2 a.m. and all their toys. This vehicle was totally smushed and they were being asked to cut it apart. Firemen love that shit. My partner, an older medic with a very salty attitude, saw them hooking up their tools, walked up to the vehicle, pulled lightly on the driver's door. The door opened and the deceased body fell out with almost no difficulty. My partner pulled the walkie off his belt and said, "Unit 54, extraction complete." The look of abject defeat on the firemen's faces. They had to put away all their toys without getting to play with them. I'm sorry that a man died in that crash, but that shit was funny. That's why interstates can be closed for a long period during fatal accidents. These types of things are complex. I heard of a plane crash in the Air Force that was so violent, they were unable to get all of her out of the wreckage. Parts of her basically became part of the wreckage. No idea how true that is, but it's just one of those stories I've picked up over the years. Work in the fire service. We'd get them out one way or another. Buddy of mine at work told me a dark but relevant story where they went to a car accident and subsequent fire on a motorway, where the person driving the car was unconscious after the incident and could subsequently not escape once the car caught on fire. He had melted into the car and had to be removed by means of a shovel. The emergency responders work until they get the person out. Only a doctor is allowed to declare death. I have a paramedic friend who once came across a victim of a motorcycle accident who had been fully decapitated. His head was 20 feet from his body. My friend was required to write that the patient had severe lacerations on the neck. Why? Because decapitation is a diagnosis of death and only a doctor can make a diagnosis of death. We had a Jeep get rear-ended and burst into flames, killing 2 people inside. For whatever reason we didn't cut the vehicle at the scene. I think it was a severe snowstorm. This happened 10 years ago, so the vehicle was transported to the tow yard for removal of the people. This doesn't happen normally. We can cut the vehicle away and remove them. My comment is only vaguely related to the question, but I want to share my memory. I was 5-6, accompanying my pops on his rounds as a small-town newspaper publisher, which involves wearing many hats: ad sales, reporting, photographer, editor, etc. This was late 70s. We stopped somewhere to take some shots of the aftermath of a car wreck. The entire insides of the car was red, blood everywhere, and it smelled strongly of beer mixed with blood. I have no idea if the occupants survived, but the scene has always stuck with me. I towed for 3 years and we had police week every 3rd week of the month. But no, there is no body in the car once the tow truck is clear to haul it away. There can be exceptions under extenuating circumstances, if for example it's a recovery tow like from underwater or out of a ditch. But once a tow truck company is on scene, they'll be directed by the police emergency personnel on scene. But they will tell us to go as soon as possible after the occupants are all removed. It's definitely a gruesome job. The sight of the vehicle itself is a lot to bear, and as the tow driver you not only tow the vehicle, you have to retrieve and clean up the debris field. And later that day, or in the following days, the family will arrive at the tow yard to either pay the fees, look at the wreck, or sign over the title. That interaction is also very dark and awful. And sadly it may not always be a car accident. Many self-unalivings occur in cars, and whatever was in there is still in there when you tow it. When asked, the FD will assist the coroner in removing the bodies at the scene. In most jurisdictions, but not all, FD, PD, and coroners support each other in their respective work. My crew had to cut 5 bodies out of a single crushed vehicle in one accident for a coroner, and I've walked RR tracks for coroners to help find parts of victims. No, they'll cut the body out, because generally the body is recovered by another unit. Then they'll remove the car from the area. Once, when I worked as a fire dispatcher, a young woman was T-boned by a drunk driver and didn't survive. Her car, with her in it, was put on a flatbed truck and brought to the station. She was left until morning in the car, feet from the dispatch center. The car was covered by a tarp, but still unnerving. That was not the norm, but I cannot remember why it was handled that way. Maybe something to do with a criminal investigation. It was 20 years ago. I once many years ago saw FDNY go way over and above to extract a child from a wreck at Jerome and Bikui. The car was wadded up under a trailer from the days before Mansfield bars. The fire engine was chained to the frame of the car and the car was half, then quartered to roll the dash forward. The front passenger was decapitated and we had to break the pelvis to twist the car out from the trailer running gear. I was on my back, feet out the rear window in a salvage cover. The truckie ran the roof saw wide open to drown out the bones being broken as we cinched and rolled the dash with the hearse on close with snub chains. I went back to the hot sheet apartment that me and 6 other FDNY and HHC guys rented on Tito Puente and 3rd over a Boget and took a count the ceiling tiles nap. I just couldn't go home. You overestimate how hard it is to get into a car. Windows can be broken. Just get the big hydraulic garden shears and cut the fucking roof off. Yeah, you might leave a little DNA behind, but that's about it. I've worked 2 cases forensics where the car was tarped and towed to the cop shop with bodies. Situational. Jaws of Life also work for the dead ID. Imagine. I don't know, but my brother was a tow truck driver for decades. He said at one accident he found a motorcycle helmet that still had a head in it. No, they take out the body but don't clean up. My uncle got called for a tow when a lady committed suicide at a red light.